Okay, that's kind of what I'm paying for. I'm not paying for you to have great systems. Our systems allow us to hit our schedules and do them 20% cheaper, more efficient, better, all those things that you're going to want in a contractor. Even like what you said about the some of the movie theater experience, for instance. When you break a movie theater down, I realize, having worked in a movie theater in my life, they're not just boxes, but when you really break it down, it's a box, and a couple boxes on top of that. The point is, when I worked at Arco Murray, one of the things we did was beverage distribution facilities. Arco and Arco Design Build here in Atlanta. What they do is they go around the country building facilities for Anheuser-Busch. Not the brewery, but the distribution centers. And those distribution centers all had they were basically concrete refrigerators, 100 to 200,000 square feet of beer, which I know sounds very exciting for a lot of you on a Friday. The point that I tell you this was anybody in the universe could have built these buildings. There was nothing complicated about it, except we would go to the National Beer Wholesalers Convention out in Vegas. Go figure, beer in Vegas. And the idea was we were just knew their business better than they knew their business. And we'd go, so your Anheuser-Busch, your beer has to be at 34 degrees Fahrenheit with a certain humidity, and your clear height is 32 feet. And they go, oh my gosh, you know all about us. Guess what? We were building all of their buildings. We were the solution. Just like, hey, when you're building a movie theater, how do you get to be that preferred, seller of services? So are you using a Trinitron screen or a lithium lens bulb, and we have to account for a 50-degree temperature swing, and you know the movie theater business? No, I read a book, or I went to Google and got Google Smart. The point is, you got to know their business better than Publix, the movie theater. LA Fitness knows their business. Some of you do this, you just didn't know that. That was called customer service. Knowledge, deep knowledge of your customer's business. Those are the reasons why people choose you. And once again, there are a lot of reasons why you're selected and why you routinely have been in business for, 50 plus years, doing 80 to 120 million, and being very successful. And once again, that's because of all of you, but doing these things that we're talking about. So, what is customer service, that whole category that we've been talking about? It's initiated once the project is won. So if you saw when the gun goes off, so to speak, on that graph I showed you, it's everything from that point forward. Systematic process of building value for clients, pre, during, and post. Efforts to cement customer confidence in the value of the services. The way problems and complaints are resolved. I often joke with my wife when we're flying or something and we're waiting the baggage claim. If you've ever seen the baggage claim, at least in Tampa, there's a little office right near there, and it's the luggage office. Folks, no one goes to that desk with saying, hey, I just want to tell you what a great job you're doing today. You are going in there on a scale of 10, you're at a 13 because Delta screwed up your luggage and you're just livid. I would hate that department. My head would explode there too. Point is, how are customer problems resolved? We live in a world of problems in construction, everything we do. But it comes back to that, do we always give the bad news? Or do we find ways to find those solutions with the tenacity that you talked about? The role that everyone plays in ensuring those expectations are met and identified. It's not Channing's job. It's not estimating's job. It's our collective job. And once again, we can't be like that superintendent that was not a customer kind of guy, which that just won't work at Benning long term. This is a poster. How many of you know LL Bean? Anyone shop at LL Bean? They have a store, it's up in Maine, but most of their business for the lion's share of their existence has been catalog. Of course, catalog now is given way to the internet. But LL Bean, one of their things, what are they famous for, Darcy? You said you shop there. What are they famous for, without a shadow of a doubt?
Just,
Boots.
yeah,
Bean boots.
right.
What's that?
Bean boots.
Bean boots.
Old lady clothes.
Yes.
Main clothing, eh? You know, yeah,
Sweater
lots of
tied
stuff.
around your neck.
Yeah. One of the things, though, that they have, and I'm not sure if you're aware, they have a lifetime guarantee. And I always thought that was interesting because, you know, and I kind of joke about Walmart a lot, but, you know, there's one comedian that jokes, he goes, you could bring a dirty diaper back to Walmart and they would take it as an exchange. But, you know, really the idea of when you think about, you know, LL Bean, they are so confident in their product that, you know, if a shoe busts open, send it back, they'll send you, if they don't have it, they'll find a way to make that happen. So their customer service is second to none. And I'm working in, it's just north of New Orleans, Mandeville, Louisiana. So it's on the north side of the Lake Pontchartrain. And this company, they do 80 million. They have a lifetime guarantee. Lifetime guarantee. They have customers. Actually, while I was there, the owner of the company took me to lunch, and one of his customers called up and was like, hey, I know we worked with you 10 years ago, but we got a problem in our parking lot. No problem. They go out there and they fix it. And it drives some of the people in their company crazy because you can imagine the accountant is having to write these checks like, I can't believe we just did a repaving job for, you know. Now there's probably a limit to where they would go, but it's that responsiveness. And as Kyle told me, Kyle said, he goes, you know, I never want, you know, I don't like having awkward conversations. We would rather default to helping our customers out. And they're a very faith-based company. They do a lot of churches. He goes, I know these churches don't have a whole lot of money in some cases, so we'll help them out. And he goes, you know what? All those referrals have helped us because I just called and said, hey, we're thinking about doing a church for the first diocese of Louisiana. Can you be a reference? Absolutely. And they tell them what a great organization they are. The point is, this is an example of customer service. Now, those are business decisions. So, you know, if we choose to do something that is a warranty or is it just us being nice people, that's a business decision. But look at some of this is actually a poster at LL Bean. And, you know, a customer is the most important person ever in this office, in person or by mail. A customer is not dependent on us, we're dependent on them. It's not an interruption of our work, they are the purpose of it. We are not doing them a favor by serving them, they're doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to do so. A customer is not someone to argue or match wits with. Nobody ever won an argument against a customer. A customer is a person who brings us their wants. It is our job to handle them profitably to them and to ourselves. This weekend, I was at Disney the entire weekend because I need my head examined. And I was there, and it was amazing to me. For me, I'm just floored when I go to Disney, more because the consultant of me never kind of turns off. Drives my wife crazy. But we're there, and I'll see things, you know, and it's the business side. And I've tried this a few times, not to be argumentative, but I will talk to the people at Disney and see, can you get them to say anything bad? And they will never argue with you. Now, will they always tell you what you want? No. But they will be like, well, let's figure out how to do this. How do we get you into the park sooner? Well, we can't get you over here, but how about over here? No, I want to ride Space Mountain. Okay, well, we can't get you on Space Mountain, but we can. And it's just amazing, you know, how when you watch. Now, their people, their DNA, they probably have to be very resilient. They're trained, much like we're doing here. They teach them how to have these conversations. They put them in scenarios. Folks, just like you, we know your customers. You know, your customers are not always nice, and nor are they always right. However, we can't have this battle of wills, because the old adage, you can win the battle but lose the war, and that would be just absolutely catastrophic. So how do we give that bad news yet still make them feel like they're winning? So this concept of raving fans, you've heard me use this word over and over again, and I must give credit where credit is due. This book is even shorter than the other book I told you. So if you're not a big reader, but you like to read books, but you just can't kind of do a 400-pager, this is like $1.40. You could go to Barnes & Noble. There will be copies on the shelves, I can guarantee you. And personally, a company like Benning, this should become required reading. I know, I'm pushing my luck here, but it's also a business fable, and you're probably going to laugh at how cheesy this sounds, but it's actually set up like a, what's the word? It's a fairy godfather, and it's this person learning how to deliver great customer service, and his fairy godfather comes and helps him. It's not a children's book, but it's kind of told a little bit funny and a cheeky story. However, there's one story in it that to me really resonates. It was about a taxi driver. And this taxi driver had all the accoutrements. I equate it to the nice Uber driver. You know, there have been some Ubers, actually the one today, you know, the young lady had her music just blaring the whole time. I could have told her to turn it down, but it was the non-confrontational part of me. And you were only about 4 minutes from my hotel, so it wasn't a big deal. But she just, I mean, we had the bass cranking, you know, I'm like, boom, boom. But have you ever been in a nice Uber where there's like the dish of candy? You know, there's maybe a bottle of water, there's a tissue box, maybe some hand sanitizer, a phone charger. You know, I get off a plane, my phone's usually almost dead, but you know, it's got the phone charger there. And they're just nice to talk to. Or they say, look, I'll shut up if you want. I know you've had a long day. And I usually say thank you because I'm not that big of a conversationalist. Lo and behold, you know, to me, those are the experiences. Yet, I could also take a taxi from Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Sometimes you're taking your life in your own hands. Not only their driving's bad, but you know, you don't want to touch anything in it. It's like, it's icky. God knows what was on the seat before me. So I guess the question is, are we the Uber driver with the candy dish, or are we the dirty taxi? I mean, that's always the point that we have to address. And what Sheldon Bowles and Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Bowles, the authors of that book, the reason I brought up the taxi drivers is because there actually is a taxi. It was before the day of Uber, but it is very relevant when you read the chapter on it. But it says, and it's easy to read on your page, your customers are only satisfied because their expectations are so low because no one else is doing better. Just having satisfied customers isn't good enough anymore. If you want a booming business, you have to create raving fans. And this goes back to what I said before. If we don't finish a job strong, now we may do a great job all the way through, but we hiccup at that 90% point. We pull the super and we just stumble across the finish line. That's where customers go, you're no different than brand X or brand Y. You know, you say you're better, but you know what? You're all the same. So that's why I was so emphatic the last time we were together about our exit strategy. Because the industry, this is not a Benning thing. Most of the industry is bad at this. And this is where you guys could differentiate yourself so much by focusing on strong closeout. Finish is strong, get it done, not at your expense, but getting done, and land an incredible job successfully. This is, you know, kind of some rhetorical questions, but you know, how do we create raving fans? How do we sustain raving fans? You know, some of it is, do you spend enough time talking to your customers? Do we just call them for no reason, like we said earlier? Not the hey, but more of the, hey, want to keep you in the loop. I want to educate you on a process. I guarantee you, if you're not talking to your customers, guess who is talking to your customers? Who's that? Competition. They'll gladly, you know, tell me what all the things Benning does wrong, because we can do it better than you. So your job is to be that squeaky wheel. Not be a pain in the butt, but hey, I just want to let you know where we're at, keep you in the loop, keep you informed. Very rarely do I hear from customers when I speak to them, you know, oh my gosh, I couldn't shut those guys up over at Benning or Brand X or any other contractor for that matter. They just were chatty Cathy the whole time. It's usually, I never heard from them But I only heard from them when there was a problem or when they wanted money. You know, that's the point we've got to be able to do, and being proactive. Why do we want raving fans? Well, we want that 50-year legacy of always working with Publix, being their solution provider. But here's the challenge with that. 50 years is a long time, folks. You got to make sure that you're constantly reinventing yourself. It's a relationship. It's no different than a marriage. And we know how marriages go in this world today. You know, and if you're not constantly, you know, not to get all philosophical on you, but injecting love into that relationship on a regular basis, it'll get stale. And they'll start to go, man, you give me the same crappy box of candy every Valentine's Day, you know, what have you done for me lately? And we're back to that whole thing again. But having a revenue stream that you can guarantee for the next 20 years that we're always going to be doing Publix work. But here's the challenge. New legacies come in, just like Mr. Benning. You know, he's retiring eventually. You know, and he has relationships with older gentlemen and women in the business. They're retiring, so they're doing this. Hopefully Rice and the leadership is also connected with the new relationship people at Publix or whatever vendor. But they'll be eventually, you know, are they going to go out and find, you know, well, just because my boss told me I had to use Benning, I want to go find my own contractor. That happens a lot. So that's why you have to now continue to reinvent yourself. Hopefully they just say they see that value and they never want to change. So I want you at your table to discuss for me one example of where you saw someone at Benning create outstanding raving fans. And I'll give you a couple examples. Maybe it was not just getting a job finished, but maybe we did something, and the story I often use, my previous company, we did a project for Lockheed Martin, the aerospace contractor. They have a big sheet metal fabrication plant in Tampa, St. Petersburg. And what we did, we got to the end of the project, we nailed the finish. I mean, we were like the gymnasts that were, you know, we were perfect, it was great. But what we did was when they were moving their people in, we had two of our carpenters in their office to just help them with stuff. You know, help their people hang pictures. Hey, I don't know how to put my desk together. I got this IKEA furniture, I don't know what to do. Our couple carpenters, for one day, that's all they did was just help them do stuff. We had a box of donuts for them. What was fascinating is what probably cost us a few $100. What we found was anytime we needed a reference, the fellow that ran that plant was our raving fan. He would say, you can bring any customer. Not only will we call them, but you let any customer come to our facility. And remember that Jabil project I told you about, the one that I was gonna kind of had to go see Doug on? We got that job because of the relationship that was extended by the folks at Lockheed Martin. One, it was kind of that secret fraternity of, you know, customers, but they let Jabil come over and they let them do a tour of their facility, and they were our best ambassadors. We didn't need to do any business development because they said they were just speaking our praises. Wouldn't that be nice? Now I realize some of your customers, I don't think Kroger would let Publix just say, hey, come to our store and see what a great job. We love Publix. Yeah. That would be awkward, and I don't think that'll happen. But leveraging relationships and developing that network, that was a great example of something one of our superintendents did that was not something that was part of our policy at my previous company, but we said that's a great example of customer service. Give me an example at your table of one great raving fan story. I want to hear